Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rakan, a product designer working in London, and in this video series I'm going to be designing and developing a website for Ali Abdaal to make a more productive website using no-code tools. Ali Abdaal always talks about the importance of having your own homepage and site on the internet, so I'm going to teach you guys how to make your own using no code. So it's going to be a 3-part video series, so be sure to subscribe. In the first part we're going to be designing a website using Figma. In the second part we're going to be going into Webflow to build a website, and in the third part we're going to make the website responsive, working for mobile, and launching a website. So the website we're going to be looking to design is a Linktree style website. Ali has a ton of courses and a ton of resources, and it'll be great to have a central place to access these easily to make it more productive when you're scrolling through his site. So we're going to be using Figma to design this. Figma is a free to use tool. All you need to do is have a web browser and create an account. So be sure to head into the links in the description below to create an account in Figma, and let's get started. Heading straight into Figma, the first thing you want to be doing is going to the drafts here, and then you click on the plus icon, and then this will allow you to get some preset options. So we're going to be creating a website, but these are great places to get started if you are looking to do iPhone designs or like looking for other templates. So let's click on desktop and create file. So this will basically just give us a desktop screen preloaded inside a frame. So frames are like, imagine a picture frame where basically you're doing all of your artwork inside here, all your design work. So you can get various different frame sizes when you just press F on your keyboard. You can get like desktop sizes, these are what we've got, but then you can get like phone frames, paper frame sizes, Instagram posts, Twitter posts, and all of this stuff. So here's the design that we're going to be trying to replicate. So let me just copy this over so we've got a note of what we're going to be trying to do. So I've just pasted this here. So let's just get started by trying to make this navigation bar. So simply just create a rectangle, and you have a rectangle here that takes up the full width, and then here at the top we want to create some sort of shadows that goes here. So to create a shadow, you go to effects and then drop shadow, and then we'll change a fill, which will change the rectangle color to white, and then we've got something very similar to what's going on at the top here. So a key thing when designing on web is you want to be using grids. Grids are great because they're used in web development, and it makes it really easy to divide up your content. So what you do is basically you press Ctrl G to see layout grids are visible. So because you got a free frame here, you can literally just press layout grid here. So what we want to do is set up a 12 column grid. Like when you go into Webflow, or even if you're developing this yourself, 12 column grids are what are standard used when developing. So you click 12 here, and then what we want to do, the margin is going to be the distance on the left and right of the grid. So what we want to do is select that to over 120, and the gutter is a space in between each of these columns here. So we're going to be using a 8 pixel grid system, so everything has to be divided by 8, and be spaced in between by 8. So let's use 32 here. So that's awesome. So we've got our grid here, we've got 12 columns set up, and we're ready to start to create the nav bar. So we've basically want to put some text here, so this is going to be the navigation options. So simply all you have to do is press T to get a text box up. So this is what we're going to put in the text here is like Ali's main site. I'm just going to quickly pad all of this out, and then so what we want to do is start creating some styles here as well. So we can see it looks a bit lonely. So when you go on the right here, you get all of these fonts. All of these fonts are Google fonts, so these are all free to use fonts and they're easy to access as well. So Figma, awesome to let us to pre-install all of these on. So the font we want to be looking for is called like DM Sans, but you can use any font that you want. So this is the font that we was using here. So let me just quickly cross-check this. So we was using DM Sans medium and then 20 pixels. So DM Sans medium and then 20 is the font size. So this is how you get the font to increase. And then if you hold down control, you get this little cursor, and then you can increase and decrease the font here, but we know we want the font to be 20. And then here you want to select the text to auto width, so then every time you text longer, the box increases by itself. So here's Ellie's main site. So I'm just going to quickly finish off creating this nav bar. So we want to place the logo here. So this is simply just an SVG image. So I'm just going to copy this over because I've already grabbed my images. So this file is all going to be free for you to access. All you have to do is go to the link in the description below to get the Figma file. You just have to sign up to my newsletter and this will send it automatically for you. So you don't have to grab the resource. So the next thing we're going to be doing is creating this Hey Friends, I'm Ali container, which is like the introduction card of when people first go into the website. So first thing we want to do is quickly change the background color of the entire frame, which is going to fill here, and then we'll just change the color. So the color is F3, which is a hex code. Remember to download this file for reference. I've made the entire file for free. Just head into the link in the description below. Let's design this here. So as you can see, this is just going to be a rectangle to get that background. So let's basically grab our rectangle here, and then it seems about right. So we know the height here is about 406, so we can head to which is the width and height and change that to 406. And then we want to get the corners to be rounded, so you go into the border radius, corner radius here, select that to be 14. And then what we want to do is also change the color. So the color here is F3, which is the same as the background, and we want to add the stroke on the outside here, which is white. And then to get this elevation effect, this neuromorphic effect, we need to add drop shadows. So we go here to the drop shadows, and then we'll add 2 of them here. So if you click on the card here and double click on it, it will tell you what drop shadows have been added. So we can see here that we go here, we can just go 24, 24, and then we can enter the hex code here, and then we can quickly look, the blur is 32 and then the opacity is 71%. So let's change that, and then the blur is 32. So you can already see there's some like elevation going on between the cards, so it doesn't actually blend in between the background color. So we just need to add another drop shadow. So I'll quickly do this. So this one's going to be white, and then let's just make that 42, and then add this to like 30. So as you can see, there's a lot of elevation going on here, which is awesome. So we got -28, and then 47%. So, and then just go to 48. And that is basically looking really good. So let's just quickly add the text. So to create a text box, all you have to do is basically click T, and then you can basically just start typing. However, we've got the copy here, so let's copy and paste this in, and then we've got some text here as well, so let's just copy this in as well. So that's awesome. So if you hold down Option, it'll tell you the spacing between the left and right. So the spacing is basically the spacing between the two elements I've selected, which is super important. So let's just change that to be about an 8 here. And then the spacing from the edge is about 112, so let's get ours to be that as well. So that's looking good. And then just at the top here, it's going to be 80 on top. And then all we have to do is add this little border. So all you have to do, the way I usually create borders is I actually use the rectangle tool. So what I do is create a rectangle here and then change the height to 1. And then let's just change that to black. So just double check. So if you click here, you can see the height is 2, and then we've got a color here, F34, F34. So if you go back here, the height increases, and then F34, F34. And then you can see here the arrow, again, the border, the rectangle is around at the edges. So you go to border radius, enter a value, and now we've got round edges. So let's just check the width. The width here is 392, so our width is too big here. So let's quickly just change that, and then get some height that we need to quickly change as well. So the height between here is like 25, so let's make that 24, which is awesome. So yeah, so now let's just quickly put the image here as well, and then that should look pretty good. So the width here is 604. We want to get the width of the text box to be the same as well, and then let's just create that to be 32. So now we've basically just recreated this here, which is awesome. So on to the next step. So the next step we're going to do is create these productivity courses cards. So let's get into Figma here, and first thing we need to do is, if we click on the frame, we can quickly increase the height. So if you don't hold down Command, it basically uses all the constraints, so make sure you hold down Command. So now we've got more space to play with. So let's just quickly get this productivity courses. You can see here the productivity courses is actually on the edge of the grid, so let's just quickly get that sorted. And then we can just quickly type it in. And then this is using a serif font, DM serif display, so let's quickly change that, DM serif display. And then let's just quickly get the font right, which is 52. Awesome. Cool, so let's just create one of these cards here. So the way we want to create one of these cards is, first of all, we want to basically create the body of the text. So let's just quickly have the text here. And then let's just quickly paste some of the text in. So which is awesome. So we've got the text here. So the next thing we want to do is add this button here. So the button that we used was an auto layout button. So we want to make sure, so this means that the button basically grows using constraints that we're going to set. So visit YouTube course. So right now I'm using a text box, and then all you want to do is select this to be auto width. And then if you press Shift A on your keyboard, auto layout's been added. So to create this button, what we're going to do is add a border, and then select the radius to be 2, and then let's just double check the corner radius here is 10, and that's great. So that's looking awesome. So now we've got the top and bottom of the card. Let's quickly create the card background. So the way you do this again is press Shift A, you've got the auto layout, and then we want to check the space between here, and then we want that to be 48. So the space between here is always going to be 48. because we've added the auto layout constraints here. But we also want to add some space to the bottom, so we want from the bottom to be 48 as well. So here, when you go here, you can select all the padding constraints, so we want 48 spacing at the bottom, and then we want some space on the left and right of this card, so let's just add some 24 pixels on the left and right, and then we want some spacing at the top here, so we want 24 at the top as well. Awesome. So this is going to be the body of our card, so what we have to do is now add a fill, and let's just get the right background color. So this is starting to look a lot more like a card now, so let's just add the image that we want. So you can just double click on the image and then paste that over here. So if you drag that here, so we want to basically add this to the card. So all we have to do is press Shift A here, and now we've got auto layout added to our card. So we want to make sure that these are basically following the same constraints here. So right now we just want to put that in. So you can see there's always going to be 24 space in here, but we've now got the card to basically fit. So what we want to do is, as you can see, we want to set this to fill container and hug container. So we want to set that to fill. So what that does is that it's always going to abide by those rules that we set earlier, and then hug contents, which set that to hug. Awesome. So that's always going to be 24, 24, and then 48 here. And then that means now when we type text, it grows by itself, following those rules. So let's just add, the last bit is basically adding the shadow. So let's add the stroke of white here, and then like we've done previously, there's 2 drop shadows here. So to get the elevation effect, you just add those drop shadows. You go to effect, and then you got drop shadows. So we got -10, -10, and then you can go back and check. So we want that to be white, and then so white here, and then blur of 30%. So as you can see, white, and then a blur of 30. So now we've created the cards, we've also now actually created them as symbols as well, which is awesome. So when we go to layers, we've made a new page here. You go add new page, components, and we've basically put the course card into this cards frame here, so we can access it at all times. So next up is this newsletter. So again, hold down Command to increase the space, and then let's just hold down Option to drag this here because we're using the same font, and then newsletter. So to get this effect here, you can see this is going to be a rectangle. So we press Ctrl G to get the rectangle to be the full width here, and then you can see the font here is really similar. So we can see the rectangle here is above the font, so if we hold down Command and then press the brackets key, these, and then you can see the layers going down. So that's awesome. And then this is going to say Sunday snippets, so let's just copy that text over, and let's just add the same again. This to get this look, you have to just add these drop shadows. So I'm just going to quickly add these. Cool, so now we've actually got the same drop shadow effects. All we have to do is add the image. So this image is from Unsplash. So Unsplash is a great plugin to get open source images. So we go plugins, Unsplash, you'll be able to get these type of images, which are all open source. So let's just select our rectangle here, make that 10, and then we've actually got the corners rate blurred all over it, so that's cool. Group it, and then let's Command X and then go to our components page. So we could just call this a card, just make it easier. So we go here and then call this banner card, and then just click create component. We go to wireframes, assets, cards, and then banner card, and there we go. So let's just make the spacing, that's 40. Awesome. So because we know these two are very similar, all we have to do is just select these two, hold down Option to copy them, and let's just select the space as 104, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's just quickly change the text. So that says podcast, that says not overthinking, and let's just change this image, plugins, and then go to Unsplash, and then let's select the microphone. And let's just select something really similar. So let's select this one here. And then if this happens to your image, don't need to worry about it, because you could go to the image here, and then if you hold down Option, you'll bring down this cropping menu, so you can just crop the image to be where you need it to be. Awesome, so we've got our podcast, so just need to do the social channels and then the footer, and we're nearly actually done. So onto the social channels. So you can see here, these are basically going to be buttons with a lot of shadows going on. So it's really simple. It's literally just a circle with loads of shadows in, and then a picture, an icon in the middle. So let's start with getting the header done. So because we've been using the same header throughout, we can just hold down Option to grab this, and just make sure that everything's inside the grid as well. So let's go here. So if we go to social channels, alright, so to make one of these, we're just getting hold down O to create a circle, and then let's first of all put the icon inside. So grab your icon, this is the Instagram logo, so we go down here and then put the Instagram logo in the middle. If we go back to layers, we select the ellipsis and Instagram logo, and then select it to be in the middle and then the center. So that's awesome. So we've got the basic bases of this all done. So we just want to make sure this is the same size, so let's just select 130 by 130, and then let's just quickly do that. So now let's just change the color of the fill, and then add the effects here. So there's a lot of shadows that need to be added. So what I recommend you doing is basically just copy and pasting all these shadows in. One thing you can do is actually make these shadows just a style and then paste them over. So I'm just going to add all of these shadows in. So I've added all the shadows in, so because I know, like earlier, I'm going to be reusing these buttons again, I might as well just create this as a component once, so then once I change this, it will change all the instances again. So let's press Command X and go to components, let's create a new frame and then call this one buttons, and then paste the button into here, and then we call it, we've got the name as social button, and then create component. So this means that if we go back to assets, there's now a page called buttons, and then we go to social buttons here, and then we know that there's going to be 6 of them, so let's just paste this 6 times, and it's going to be a spacing of 52 on each one. So we can just press Command D and it'll paste it, remembering the rule of 52. And then all we have to do now is just change the icon each time. So if we go to the file that I've handed off that you can get for free, again, subscribe to the newsletter below to get it for free. You'll have all of these icons inside the file for you. These are all free open source icons that you can grab, but I've just put them inside the Figma file. So what you want to do is copy these icons over into your components, and then what you can do is, because we want to be using all these icon sets, we want to set the instance of this button to be using one of these icons. So if you actually go to assets here, you can see all of these come up. So let's just delete this one here and change this to the Twitter logo. So as you can see here, it's centered inside, and we've got the Twitter icon. I think one thing is that these are smaller than the ones that we've actually been using. So we've grabbed one of the icons and put it here. So what's really cool about this now is if I go back to the buttons here, they're all updated using the Twitter icon, but what I can do here is if I click on the Twitter logo, I can now change these to all the relevant icons that we just added. So let's just quickly change these. So the last bit we want to do is create the footer, which is actually really simple to do. So like earlier with the border, what we have to do is create a rectangle. So you create the rectangle inside that grid, and then the height is going to be around 2 pixels. And then all we have to do now is basically select a text box, and then we'll just enter in the text. So the text here says design and create. We'll just quickly paste that in. This hasn't copied the styles in, so we press Command Shift, we delete this, and then we'll copy this again, and then in our text box, if we press Command Shift V, it'll remember the same property styles as here. So that is awesome. So I think let's just quickly scale this here. And then that's basically sorted. So let's just sort the spacing out. And that's the basics of the site sorted. So we've got the social channels. This is all using components. And then the difference between this file here is we've actually added all of the styles that we've used. So here I've managed to do all the font styles, but because we're using a single page site, this isn't always required to do, but if you're scaling up and making more pages, I highly recommend you doing this. But I've done it all for you when you grab this file. Same with the colors, these have all been worked out. But this is what it looks like on Figma. So one thing you can do is go to Figma Mirror and then check how this looks out on the web. So if you go to figma.com/mirror, you'll be able to see how this looks. So there you have it. We've now designed a website in Figma. Hopefully you found that useful and you've learned something new. Be sure to subscribe for part 2 where we develop the website in Webflow. So comment down below if you enjoyed this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for future videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.